Hey everybody, this is Daniel here with Propelio, and we are here for part 2 of the mobile home class. This will be a full actionable class teaching you the ins and outs of mobile home investing. Part 1 is available in the link below, so if you haven't seen part 1 after you've seen part 2, go back and watch it, and we'll be right back here in just a second. All right, so we're back here today, and we are here with Jason Witherspoon for part 2 of this class. For those that missed part 1, it is about, 2.5, 3 hours long? And this one's probably gonna be 2.5, 3 hours long too. So if you truly wanna know how to invest in mobile homes, I'm not gonna be able to get it done for you in 45 minutes. So we're gonna be doing this probably about another 2 hours today. Before we get started on that, I'm gonna do a real quick recap on part 1. If I'm going through this and you have any questions, just kind of hit me up here. But I'm gonna do a real quick recap on part 1. We'll go through 4 or 5 minutes of that so that way you can kind of get caught up to speed, and we'll move into part 2. So moving forward, I've always got to do my CMAs. CMAs always, covering my assets. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a real estate agent, I'm not a licensed CPA, financial advisor, I'm none of those smart people. I'm just me, and I like playing with mobile homes. So with mobile homes being said, that's what you're going to learn today. Take the time, read that, but overall it says that this is not financial advice, and you need to do your own due diligence. Moving forward though, with mobile homes, there's a lot of stereotypes. That they're low class. You always hear trailer trash, you hear stuff like that. They're tornado magnets, and we've already kind of covered some of these stereotypes and how to address them. And poor construction standards, all things that are revolving around mobile homes. But as a real estate investor, I need to think of one thing, and that's numbers. And numbers make sense with mobile homes. So, a lot of people think of mobile homes, they start thinking of stuff like this. But when they think of mobile homes, they don't think of stuff like that. That is one fancy ass mobile home. You don't want that. And honestly, you don't want that either. You want stuff that looks like that.
Right.
Those right there are where you make your money. Those right there I can buy. Most of those I bought were somewhere between $1,000 to $5,000. And I turn around and sell them on notes for 20 grand after I put a couple grand into them. So that's what we're looking for. That right there, I'd probably buy that one too. If it was given to me or under $1,000, I'd buy that one too. Primary benefits to mobile home investing though is that they're cheap to buy and fix. They're hard to secure financing, so it's hard for a seller to go out and sell their properties for 20 grand, 30 grand, because no one's gonna finance them. So
Right.
that opens up the door for me as an investor to purchase them at a significant discount and then sell them on financing. And since they are hard to sell with any sort of financing, with the seller, you can normally get creative financing put into place. Once again, if you're not catching all this was in part 1. I'm just kind of giving you a real quick recap. And uncomparable returns. My due diligence on a mobile home says I will not enter into the deal unless it's got 100% cash on cash return. Most of my deals had 150% plus cash on cash returns. We also described cash on cash in part 1. Mobile homes built before June of '76 are built to factory standard without regulation. Manufactured homes are factory built after June of 1976 to HUD manufacturing standards, and modular homes are built, delivered, and site assembled to local codes. So I need to really touch base on that. Mobile homes are homes built before '76. Manufactured homes are homes built after '76. There is a difference, and when you get into the mobile home community, they will notify you like they're not mobile homes, they're manufactured homes. And a modular home, while some people might think they're the same, they're not. Modular homes are built at the factory, site assembled to local codes. That's about what a 1950s, 1960s model would look like. Right there's like your 60s, 70s. Right there's like your 80s and up. Like once you hit about 83 and up, they all start looking kind of similar. You can see some things there, but that's probably late 80s, early 90s, maybe even up into the 2000s. That right there is more than likely late 2000s, 2000 and up. So going through, but when HUD was introduced in June of 1976, it created a lot of standards that the housing community needed and brought the quality of these homes up. That's where some of the stereotypes come from. Was before 1976 hit, they were built and there was no standards. There was no way of guaranteeing that mobile home was in good shape. Well, June of '76 is when HUD came in and they put standards in place that really helped out this industry. Around 1983 is when they started pitching roofs. 94 is when they implemented Wind Zone 2. 2000 Wind Zone 3, and in 2003 is when Texas implemented TDHCA. I do have to make sure that everybody watching right now understands that I am a Texas investor, so a lot of the information I speak of is on Texas, but this should be applicable across the United States. You're just gonna have to do some due diligence on your own state. This is what it looks like for your wind zones and your heat load and roof load maps. We get into detail on that on part 1. We need to be able to tell the difference between real property and personal property, because a mobile home or a manufactured home can be titled as real property or personal property. We teach you on part 1 how to go through that. What to look for in mobile homes, some of the things that I try and find out, some of the due diligence things that I'm personally looking for, all covered in part 1. Where to find them, once again, covered in part 1. The kinds of parks that you can invest in, we had some good conversations on that. I think we've both seen some pretty crazy looking parks. But we go through, try and figure out some of the main things that I'm looking to find whenever I'm dealing with the park. And then how to deal with the park manager, because they will make or break your deals. I've had park managers completely screw my day up. And this brings us to part 2. And this is where we're gonna get started, and that's understanding our sellers. So, it's been kind of a dry 2.5 minutes there on the recap, but we'll try and keep this conversation moving and going for you. Something that I don't think people watching right now may understand is the amount of knowledge that I'm going to be dropping on y'all today. I have invested well over, I say well over, but probably right at the $10,000 mark strictly on my mobile home education. I've got $5,000 tied up in one class. I've got another $3,000 tied up in another class, and I did get my mobile home retailer broker installer license for Texas, which was about another $2,000 all tied up into that. So I'm right at about $10,000 into my education, and I'm giving all of that to you today for free. So if you really feel like you're going to get some value out of this, give us some likes, some shares, tag your friends, because I am going to flat out teach you how to invest in mobile homes today.
And he spent $10,000 on classes. I want to point out that doesn't include all the bad decisions he's made, or bad deals he's made, or good deals he's made that have led him to this. So there's probably $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 worth of extra knowledge that he's dropping here. That's how we learn. You pay for your education whether you do it through failure or in a classroom.
Mm-hmm. And even if you do it in the classroom, you're still going to pay some tuition on the streets. I've lost money on 2 mobile home deals, and it was because I didn't do my due diligence properly, and I ended up getting bit in the ass on the backside of it. But I'm going to give you a hefty load of information here, and I look forward to getting some questions from you. This is a live class, so with it being a live class, feel free to ask questions as we're moving forward. But we're going to go ahead and jump into part 2. If part 2 is confusing you, make sure there is a part 1. Go back and watch that. Understanding my sellers. Well, that's something we were talking about right here before we got on this class. You were talking about the splinter theory, or the splinter analogy. And we were talking about, you find somebody who's wanting to sell their mobile home and they're like, I want $15,000 for it. I want $20,000 for that mobile home. That's like going to the MLS and trying to put in offers on people asking retail value for their house. If somebody's out there trying to sell a mobile home for 15, 20, 30 grand, they're asking retail value for it. Does that mean I won't make the offer for them? No, but I'm gonna gauge their motivation over the phone, and if I can clearly tell over the phone they're not motivated, I'm probably not even gonna drop the offer. I'm just gonna see where they're willing to come in. Like, you're asking 20, is that your bottom dollar? And if they're just like, nah, I'm solid on 20, well then what I'll just do is I'll put them in a follow-up system. A month from now, when they haven't been able to sell it, I'll call them back up. I talked to you earlier this month, and I was taking a look at your home, and I noticed it was still available for sale, and then just keep following up with them. But overall, I really liked how you said it earlier, and that was basically, could you tell me that? Because I mean, that was really cool how you said that.
So this is kind of what I tell people all the time. When they're talking about motivation, if somebody has a splinter in their hand, a big enough splinter, and that could be a point of pain in their life, they don't care about anything else that's going on in the world. It doesn't matter if bombs are being dropped somewhere, or a politician happened, somebody gets elected. They don't care about that. They just care about that splinter. And that's the point of pain you gotta find, and you gotta help them get that splinter out.
I loved how you put that, because that's absolutely reality. And whenever I hear people tell me I can't find a mobile home for less than 20 grand, and I'm like, well, you're not finding the splinter. And I liked how you said that, because most of the mobile homes I bought were under 5 grand. And they were 83 and newer homes, because I didn't like buying previous than 83, except for one. I did buy one that was before 83. But all the homes I bought were post 83. Most of them were built in the 90s, and I bought them all for less than $5,000, except for one. I paid $8,000 for one, and that's the one I lost my ass on. So everything I bought was for less than $5,000, and I'll go through and talk to you about that. But what I've got here on the slide is the reality with these sellers is they bought a mobile home. Let's say they buy a brand new mobile home today, and they pay $60,000 for it. And they finish paying it off in 10 years, 15 years, and they think they're going to turn around and resell it. And they think they're going to sell it. They understand that they're not going to get their $60,000 for it, but they're thinking they might be able to get $35,000, $40,000 for it. The reality is, though, is that they try and nobody's wanting to buy it. Nobody's willing to come in and purchase that property at that price point. So they're stuck in a situation where their reality is not meeting the world's reality. They're thinking they're going to get 35, 40 for it, and the world's telling them, no, I might give you 15 for it at that current price. There's going to be a little bit of negotiation and a little bit of reality that you as an investor are going to have to give to these people. It's like, hey, I really understand that you're wanting $30,000 for that house, but there's just no way I could do that unless you'd be willing to give it to me on payments. And if you'd be willing to give it to me on payments, even at that $30,000 mark, I don't think that's quite what I could do for it. But in its present condition, it's in really good condition. If you'd be willing to finance it to me, I could give it to you for $20,000. Well, if they'd sell it to me for $20,000, well, how much of a down payment do they want? And maybe I'll say, okay, I'll give you $5,000 down and you finance me $15,000. Well, if I can get them to do that, then I could easily turn around and resell it kind of like on a wrap like you do with the house. I'd sell it to those people and I'd sell it to them for $30,000 with $5,000 down. That takes my capital exposure down to nothing. Because remember, I had to pay the original seller $5,000. I turn around and resell it for $15,000 more than for $10,000 more than what I got it for. I get their $5,000 down. I have no money in the deal, and now I'm just collecting a spread. So there's different ways of knocking these deals down, but that's one of them.
Well, and you can also collect your spread in the interest. I was talking to an investor on the way up here today, Luis Mendez, who's always on these things. Mm-hmm. He called and made an offer today on something. He just told the lady he'd give her $300 payments until it was paid off. He didn't know what that meant, but he offered her 0 interest. and in 60 months, he'll have this thing paid off. It's an $18,000 deal.
So the mobile home?
No, it was a land deal or something he was working on. But my point is, he didn't even know what he was doing there, and he looked into a zero interest situation. This lady agreed to it. She was like, sure.
That's amazing, because he can easily turn around and sell that on a wrap with interest and probably at 3 times what he paid for it.
Yes.
Because he's offering financing.
Right.
So that's a good point, though. So when you do see these mobile homes that are like $20,000 and they're not willing to budge, get outside of that mindset of I need it for $5,000 and see if you can start working creative financing terms with them. Overall, though, I don't like paying more than $5,000 for a mobile home if I'm paying cash for it. I don't want to pay more than that. Another thing to think about, and I've had this happen to me more than once, is that and we already kind of hit that, but here's one that I kind of got, how do I say that, surprised by. A lot of the times these people that own these mobile homes, the mobile home was given to them by a family member. Like a brother, uncle, cousin, sister was like, hey, I've got my mobile home over there. I don't need it anymore. If you want it, you can just have it. Just take care of it, move in it. I know you're having some hard times. You can live there for free. The lot rent's $300 and that's going to be cheaper than anything you can do right now.
And about 50% of the time that doesn't work out for the land or the owner of that trailer.
Nope. But what I found out was in that specific scenario, whenever you find people that the mobile home was given to them, more often than not, they're willing to give it to you for whatever it costs for them to move. Like if they need $500 to move, you give them $500 and the mobile home's yours. So I was talking to you before we got on this show. I've bought many a mobile homes for under $1,000. Many of them for $500, $700, right at $1,200. And these were nice mobile homes that really needed minimal to no work. And I'll show you some pictures of those as we move forward. But if you find the right person, you can get mobile homes for free all day long. I remember one specific scenario. I received a phone call. Guys, I got 2 mobile homes in a mobile home park that I've moved out of, and I'm getting behind on lot rent, and I need to get rid of them. And I was like, cool, can I meet with you tomorrow? And he's like, cool, I'll meet you tomorrow. I call him up the next day to set the appointment. He's like, nah, man, I'm sorry, I got rid of them last night. And I'm like, man, what the hell happened? I was like, well, how much did you sell them for? He's like, no, man, I told you I wanted to get rid of them. I gave them away. Like, he gave away 2 mid-80s mobile homes, and I just did not pick that up on the conversation, man. There was a little bit of language barrier, but he was trying to give them away. And I missed the opportunity because I waited 12 hours before I went to meet him. Because he called me up at like 7 o'clock at night. And I was like, I just don't have the time. I was living in Forney. It was like an hour drive. I was like, I'll see you tomorrow. Well, between that time and the next day, he gave 2 mobile homes away that I could have easily turned around and made 10 grand off of real fast.
Well, we've all made those deals where we try to wait, a few hours. Or, oh yeah, you want to meet Friday? Cool. And then Friday gets there and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't call and tell you I sold it already.
Yeah. So if you ever find somebody that's motivated, tip number 1 is make sure that if somebody's motivated, you go camp on their front porch, because if they're motivated, they're going to sell it to somebody, and the first person that puts the offer down is going to be the person that wins. So when I show up on an appointment, there's key things that I always look for. Number 1 is the big 5. No different than a regular old house. I look for the roof. Does the roof have leaks? If the roof has the leaks and it's bad, I'm probably just going to pass on that mobile home. Mobile home roofs, mobile home trusses, mobile home construction is not the same as a single family home. And if you've had some pretty significant water damage on that roof, I'm probably just going to back out of the deal. I'm not going to say that's a guaranteed, but almost 9 times out of 10, I'm walking on it. Plumbing, on the other hand, you'll find, especially in those mid-80s to 90s homes, a lot of plumbing issues. Plumbing issues are common. They use some piping called Quest, Q-E-S-T, and it's gray, kind of like PEX, but it is notorious for being brittle and causing leaks. So when you're going through that house, it's not going to be uncommon for you to find significant leaks in the house from the PEX. And also take into consideration when you buy that home that any repairs that you do on it, if you're replacing faucets and stuff like that, you're more than likely going to cause more leaks, because Quest is just brittle and it breaks a lot. So plumbing is a common issue.
This is actually a Ryan question, only because I don't want you to get too far off topic. But you were talking about missing those cues when that seller was like red hot. Mm-hmm. What are some obvious, because I don't think we've ever talked about it the past year and a half here, what are some red hot cues that you're going to be like, oh my God, I need to jump on this appointment? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for me, like there's obvious signs of, or potential signs of motivation, like, hey, I'm facing foreclosure, bankruptcy, divorce, death. Those are all obvious signs, but it's more so I was in too big of a rush on that phone call, and I didn't ask all the questions I should have. Yeah. And if I would have asked all the questions I should have, I would have known it. One of the key things being, I think I asked him, this is like 7 years ago, so I'm struggling here, but it was like, I should have said something along, how much did you want for him? And I think I asked him, he's like, well, I'm like 3 months behind on lot rent on him. And he's like, I really don't know. And so I heard that he was motivated, because he's like, I'm 3 months behind on lot rent. So I knew he was motivated, but I didn't realize that he was wanting nothing for him, because he didn't speak English very well. Mm-hmm. I think I was being translated between his daughter and him. I don't remember. But had I picked up on that,
and you could have just went and paid the lot rent, caught it up.
I could have went and paid the lot rent, caught it up, yanked them homes out of there if they weren't on a lease, and immediately started making money, or just left them there. I could have rented them possibly. I could have owner financed them. I could have made, potentially, if they were mid-80s homes, I put $5,000 into each of them, and I caught up a couple of months of lot rent, all in for 12. I probably could have made $50,000 worth of notes off of those houses.
So I can tell you from my experience, I kicked myself about a property that I turned down. It was like 5 acres in a town, or 4 acres. That I could have subdivided. I could have done a lot of stuff if I'd been creative.
Right.
These people were begging me, just make me an offer. And I'm like, well, I can't make you an offer because I was afraid to hurt their feelings.
Oh, man.
And it was ridiculous, man. They had a trailer on one side of the road. They owned the other side of the road. I had a house on this side. Mm-hmm. Right next to a really nice trailer park, and I was like, oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings, I just don't, and I should have just went,
hurt their feelings.
I should have just been like, well, I'll give you 20, and I did throw that out there, but it was in such a ridiculous way,
right?
That it was, well, maybe 20, like sometimes you just got to go for it, because when somebody's begging you, you can hear that.
I say it with confidence, outside of like the dollar thing. Say it with confidence, so that way they don't feel like you're wishy-washy on the number. Right. And if you say it with confidence on that, a lot of the times they're going to get hit with the reality of like, damn, he really wants to pay 20 grand for this. I ain't got no choice to take it,
Well, the other side is knowing your numbers. You have to know, look, we live in a huge area here. North Texas is massive. But you know that in Fort Worth, a $30,000 house is something you probably want to look at.
Right. It's for sure.
It may be falling over, it may be a trap house, it may be a lot of things, but you want to go look at it for $30K. I got a phone call in Everman a couple of months ago. The phone call started with, "Hey, we got a house in Everman, we won't take a penny less than $35,000. I said, "How soon can you meet me there?" I didn't even ask any more questions about it.
Right.
That house was a slam dunk all day.
You just got to
For
understand
me
it.
and the person that I wholesaled it to, they ended up just wholetailing it.
Right.
Which comes back to this being able to find your own money. That's a whole other deal. But when you hear that desperation in their voice, you have to take advantage of it right then. You cannot wait.
That's the absolute truth. When you find motivation, you need to be able to go. You need to be able to do it. So getting back on the mobile home side of stuff, we're looking at the appointment. The big five, I already discussed roofing. Plumbing is almost always going to be an issue in your older 80s and 90s homes. Once they got into the early 90s, mid 90s, they started moving over to CPVC and PEX. The electrical, post 83, your electrical is going to be in pretty good order, but some of the things that I need to think of whenever I'm looking at the post 83 is just handyman work. You know, has somebody gone in there and just started just jacking around with stuff? But pre 76, big time issues with electrical. You need to pay attention to electrical big time in pre 76. You're still going to have fuse buses. You're not going to have circuit panels. You're going to run into aluminum wiring. If you have anybody that's gone in there and started doing handyman work in there, started mixing copper and aluminum, that is a fire hazard just waiting to happen. I do not like buying pre 76 homes. I personally do not like buying pre 83 homes. But all that to be said, your own market, your own demand, you might find a lot of pre-76 homes that people are looking to buy, and we discussed a little bit more of that on part 1, but be careful of your electrical in those. On the mechanical, that's kind of straightforward. I mean, if it should have central heat and air. If it's not working, you might want to have an AC guy take a look at it, see what it takes to fix it. The mobile home systems are downflow. You know, most houses are upflow. These are downflow systems, and the parts really aren't that expensive. Like, I can get a new air handler for a mobile home with an A coil on average for about $1,200.
Oh, that's not bad.
So that's not too bad. Condenser, I'd probably buy a used condenser from somewhere, and I can get a used condenser for probably around $500 to $1,000. So if I do have a home that has central heat and air that's not functioning, and I had to completely redo the system, I'd probably buy a new air handler and a used compressor, and then call it a day.
So Daniel's telling you the numbers. If you call your first guy or girl on one of these deals and they say you ought to be $5,000, you probably want to make some more calls.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you Daniel knows his numbers on there.
I am a licensed HVAC tech. I've got my Universal Type 3. Besides that, I've got about 5 years of air conditioning direct in the field experience. I was on my way to being a licensed electrician. I've got a lot of construction experience. The numbers I'm quoting you are like buddy friends, like, you know, calling up somebody that's willing to do a job on the weekends and nights. You're not going to get those numbers, you know, calling up, you know, number one air. You know, those advertisements they put on the radio cost a lot of money, and you're paying for it whenever you get them out to your house.
Sure, but we all know those guys that have scratch and dent units that they pulled out somewhere. Or I mean, if you don't, you need to cultivate those friendships because they're out there. Where you can get these maybe used units.
Used units are fine for a mobile home. I'm completely okay. What I'm looking for in a mobile home is safe, clean, and affordable.
Right.
If it's safe, clean, and affordable, I'm good. It doesn't need a brand new air conditioning system. It just needs an air conditioning system that works.
I've got some really good pictures of an AC unit that Crystal Metheny stole the fronts off of. And just had been running wide open, the top and the bottom half. So there was no seal on it.
No,
it was
nothing.
Packed full of lint.
That's crazy. That's crazy. The last thing on the big five is going to be your foundation. Foundation on a house, we're looking at probably bare minimum starting out around $1,500 bare minimum, and then you're working your way up from there. $3,000 to $7,000 is probably where I put most of my homes at, and then I've had foundations on houses hit up to 15, 20 grand before. Mobile home, you can fairly well count on a mobile home if you walk into it and it's way out of level, maybe $300 to $500 to level that thing per unit. So if it's like a single wide, $300 to $500. If it's a double wide, you know, $300 to $500 per side. So a double wide might cost me up to about $1,000 to level it. But you should be able to level a mobile home from anywhere from the low side of $200 to the high side of about $500 on a single wide unit. So if you're walking in and you're like, man, it's just really falling forward, pull back the skirting, look underneath it, take a look and see what's going on. Are the piers failing? Was it not properly installed? Was it not strapped? Do I have water ponding underneath the house that's causing these piers to sink? What's the problem underneath it? And if I have water ponding underneath it, that might be a whole different scenario, because that might need grading brought in. But if it's just failing piers or an improper installation and I don't have water that's actually ponding underneath the house, $300 to $500. That's about what you're going to pay to get them done. So other things I like to look for.
That's like 3 piers in a house.
Yeah, like if you're lucky, that's if you're
a
lucky.
Really good price.
Because really all it is it's not hadeite block, but it's very similar to a hadeite block. They go in there, they have a specific way that they have to stack these blocks, and then once they're stacked, they shim them with a little bit of the wood to make them level at the top, and then they strap them down to the ground. It doesn't take a whole lot of material to do it, and most all the material that's needed is already there, should already be there. So $300 to get somebody to come out and level it is not outside of the realm of possibilities. Another thing I look for is I prefer buying metal on metal homes, meaning a metal roof with metal siding, because they're easier to clean up and make look good. But you're gonna find a lot of these ones that have the masonite siding, and that's just that pressed wood siding that falls apart when it gets wet. You're gonna find a lot of it. So keep an eye out for rotten siding. A good thing to have with you is an ice pick. Keep it in your toolbox in the trunk. It doubles up for safety if you need it. But walk around where that skirting meets the house on the masonite. So the skirting is that plastic or metal stuff that goes around the bottom that covers up the crawl space of the house. Where that attaches to the masonite is the #1 spot for the siding to start rotting. Because what happens is, as it rains, the rainwater sits on top of that skirting, and it just over time, as that paint degrades, the water gets access to the wood and it'll start rotting. If you walk around with an ice pick, you can see if it's rotted. That doesn't 110% scare me. The first time I found one of those houses, I went the expensive route. And I replaced all of the masonite on the outside of the house. The masonite was about $1,000, and I had about another $1,000 in labor. I spent $2,000 to completely reside the outside of the house. What I learned as I started buying more and more and more of those is it's only about the bottom foot that really rots out. It's only that. The whole rest of the house is fine. Why am I replacing all of that siding when it's only a foot of siding that's rotted all the way around the house? So what I started doing from there is I just had my handyman take a circular saw and set the blade depth at like 3/8 of an inch, and then just cut the foot off of the bottom of the house. And then I go out and buy 5 sheets of masonite, cut them off at a foot long each, and then just replace the bottom foot, put a Z-bar in there and put some trim on it, and no one knows the difference, and I didn't have to completely reside the entire house. So that's a little hack for you if you're out there looking at these mobile homes and you're finding the rotten siding on the bottom foot. Just replace the bottom foot. Don't go out and replace the entire thing. Soft spots in the floor, especially near sources of water, like your water heater, your bathrooms, your laundry rooms, your HVAC closets. Walk around, and if you're starting to feel that the floor is mushy or that the floor is, just completely falling through, don't let that freak you out. Step 1, find out what the source of the water was. Like if I'm near a commode, it's more than likely the commode, the toilet, or the bathtub. If I'm near the air conditioner, it's more than likely the condensate line on the air conditioner. Figure out where that water's coming from. If I'm in the middle of the living room, where's that water coming from? That's kind of one of the things that I need to pay attention to, is like if I'm standing dead center of the middle of the living room and I got a big hole in the floor, where'd that water come from? And the reason I say that is because I bought one that was in that exact same scenario and I didn't understand why I had it. Well, the Quest, like we mentioned earlier, was underneath there, and over time it just developed a little pinhole leak. And that pinhole leak was just spraying up on the bottom side of the floor, and that's what caused the wood to rot there in the middle. Not really an expensive fix though. How much does a sheet of plywood cost you? Maybe $20-$30.
Well, I wanted to point this out because this is different than the leaks you were talking about on the roof. The roof leak is a whole different situation.
I don't like messing with roof leaks at all.
But you see this all the time in what's the correct term for it? It's not modular. It's manufactured home. In manufactured homes where they use the press board under the floor or the MDF or whatever it is. It gets wet a few times and then it's done. It bubbles up and just collapses because it's just sawdust and glue.
Yep.
I had one that I was taking in over here in Johnson County on a sub-2, and
a mobile home.
They had just and there had been a leak in the bathroom. They just didn't do anything. They just let it keep leaking. The toilet started leaking. And all this stuff compounds. So, you know, the toilet flange started leaking. They just let it go.
And then the tub
collapses.
starts collapsing, and then it all just rolls downhill from there.
Before it's over with, it's the whole back half of the trailer, right?
Yep.
You know, so.
One of the cool things about that, though, sheet of plywood's 20 to 30 bucks to completely redo a bathroom floor. Another cool thing about mobile homes is they're built in a manufacturer. They're built at a manufacturing facility. Mobile home 1 is the exact same as mobile home 2. Mobile home 3 is the exact same thing as mobile home 1. They're identical. It's like when you go out and buy a Honda. You see a 1999 Honda Civic and you see another 1999 Honda Civic. They're the same. I can pull a fender off of one car and put it on the other. I can pull the radiator out of one, put it on the other.
Right.
I can pull the seats out. I can do whatever I want to. Very similar in a mobile home. So whenever I go into that bathroom, that tub is the exact same tub that's in the one next door. It's the one that's on down there. And they are built almost like a car to be bolted and unbolted. So whenever I go to do a house, that tub is framed into that bathroom, sheetrocked around and tiled around.
Yep.
Boom, that is not an easy fix. I've got to remove all the tile, I've got to remove a lot of stuff to get that tub out of there. But on a mobile home, I can have that tub out of there in a half hour and a new one in. Literally, there's screws around the outside lip, I unscrew it, and it doesn't have a tile surround, it's got plastic surround, like a little 1/16 of an inch film of plastic that covers the drywall. All I got to do is unbolt the tub, pick it up out of there, walk out, pull the vanity out, it unbolts, pull the toilet out, it unbolts, lay down 2 new sheets of plywood for 40 bucks. That bathroom's rebuilt. Put the tub back in, put the vanity back in, put the toilet back in, I'm done. Put down some linoleum floor, and it looks even better.
Right.
So these repairs are not expensive. We're not looking for making, a $250,000 house remodel on that. We're not putting granite in, we're not putting hardwoods in. We're putting down sticky tile and the cheapest carpet we can find.
Yeah, vinyl plank looks real classy, and it's real cheap.
It is, and I'll do an entire home in vinyl plank, and someone will walk in and be like, here's my money. It's done. All you got to do is just move forward with it. So soft spots are not a problem. You just need to find out where the source of the water is coming from and just understand that the repairs aren't going to be that expensive.
And that's not to say, like, I know where there's a house and the guy was trying to give me. All the windows have been kicked out. It literally has trap house rain or spray painted on the inside
Right.
of it. And some other interesting things, and all the floors are gone. That's a whole different situation. That trailer is so
That's-
degraded that I don't even think you can move it from the lot that it's on without
Right.
it just collapsing.
That's a totally different scenario, man. I am not looking for dilapidated mobile homes. I'm looking for mobile homes that haven't been repaired. Like, I'm not looking for something that I'm gonna have to go in and put a roof on, an air conditioning system on, all new flooring on, full remodel, leveled and moved. I'm trying to be all in on these deals for less than $8,000.
Right.
If I'm spending more than $8,000 on that unit, I don't want it. Because I told you, my due diligence on these is I want 100% cash on cash returns. It's hard to get more than 100% or 100% or more if I'm buying homes in that condition because of the amount of money that's going to take for me to fix it up. The one you're talking about sounds like a $15,000 remodel. That's not for me. I want these $5,000 remodels.
It was complete gut. I mean,
Yeah, so that's probably not going to be the type of stuff that I'm looking for. Other things that I need to look for while I'm on the appointment is anything built after 76 should have a HUD label and a HUD plate. I need to reference those and do some title research on it and figure out what's going on with those, and we're going to talk about that in the next couple of slides. But I need to find that HUD label and HUD plate.
what happens if they're missing?
If they are missing, there is a serial number. Normally, it's about 3/8 of an inch letters on the front half of the home where the tongue is stamped onto the frame. Once I know the manufacturer's serial number, there's a database online that I can look that up in. It's provided by the Science Institute or whatever. I don't have that link. This is actually a full class in the academy where I will discuss all of those things, but I don't have that one memorized. This is a shorter class that I'm doing here. But if you're completely missing the plate, one of the things I'll always recommend you do is, I said the wrong thing, I said plate. If you're missing the label, which is the metal tag on the back of the home, if that's missing, look underneath any siding and try and pull back the skirting, and it might still be there. But if it's just completely gone and you don't have the plate inside the house, you should be able to find the serial number stamped onto the frame underneath the house. All right, moving forward. So we've got two things right there. The one on the left is a piece of paper. The one on the right is about a 2-inch tall by 3-inch wide metal tag. This is going to be the most ironic question ever. Which one is a label and which one is a plate? One's a piece of paper, one's a chunk of metal.
Well, that one says sample data plate. So I'm
Well,
guessing
there you
it's
go. You figured it out. For whatever reason it is, the paper that is in the closet, the paper that is in underneath the kitchen sink, that paper is the plate. The chunk of metal that's bolted on the side of the house is the label. People get those two backwards all the time because it just absolutely doesn't make sense. But if you are looking for the plate, you're trying to find the piece of paper that's glued to the wall. And if you're looking for the label, you're looking for the metal tag that's bolted on the outside. Okay. So whatever you think it's supposed to be, flip it around, and that's what it is. Your plate is the paper, your label is the metal. Well, let's talk a little bit more about these here. Where are you going to find them? The plate will almost always be glued to the wall in the master closet, underneath the kitchen sink, or near the water closet / air conditioner. If you look in those three locations, you'll more than likely find it. If the home has been repainted at some point in time, it's probably been painted over. So look for like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that's just been painted. If it's been painted, don't worry, it's useless. There's nothing you can do with it. They painted it. But the label is going to be on the skinny side of the house. Like you've got the long side and you got the skinny side. It should be on the skinny side of the home in the bottom left-hand corner opposite of the tongue. You know, some of the questions I always get from people
is
like,
back of the trailer.
It's on the back of the trailer. And I always have people ask me, well, what's the front side of the trailer and what's the back side of the trailer? My response is going to be, the thing's about 80 foot long, walk to both ends. If you don't see it on one end, walk to the other end. I'll have people try and go through a 10-minute long conversation of me trying to tell them which side is the skinny side they should look at. I was like, there's only two skinny sides. Look at both ends. If you don't find it, start doing a little more due diligence. But it's going to be on the skinny side that's opposite of the tongue. What I mean by the tongue, that's the triangle piece that sticks out of the front of the home that they use to tow it. When it's installed, they're supposed to remove those. So I understand why people are like, I don't know where the tongue's at. But there's only two skinny sides. Look at both.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a tongue on it, that's definitely not the back.
Yeah, that's definitely not the back. That's the front. So look at the back side of it, and it'll be in the bottom left-hand corner, normally within about a foot of the skirting and about a foot of the edge. It's kind of in an area about yay big on the bottom left-hand corner of the house. If you have a double wide.
Yay big, technical term.
Yeah, the tag's only like this big, right, and it's located in a spot about yay big on the bottom left-hand corner of the mobile home. It doesn't need to be technical. I mean, I've done classes before where people will try and drill onto me like, which side? I'm like, man, there's only 4 sides to the house. Look, it's going to be within a foot of the skirting, and it's going to be in the bottom left-hand corner, but it's always on the skinny side. I've never seen one that wasn't on the skinny side. But if it's a double wide, some people may not realize this, is double wides, triple wides, quads, they all have their own individual label and plate. So whenever I'm looking on the outside, it'll normally be like, I don't have a serial number memorized, but it'll be like 1234A, 1234B, 1234C. So we need to make sure that we've got our HUD labels and plates. So if you find one on one side and you're having problems finding it on the other side, just know that it's an ABC type of thing.
Have you ever bought a quad or a triple?
I've never even seen one outside of pictures online.
Right.
I think I've seen a triple once in real life, but it's so rare that I can only say I think I've seen a triple once in real life. But I've heard as big as 5 wide.
Wow.
I could not imagine a manufactured home 5 units wide. That is like mobile home mansion. I couldn't even imagine that. So I already covered that, but each section will have both a plate and label. The serial numbers will be sequential or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Plates are going to be in your closets, sinks, near your air conditioners, hot water heaters. Labels, always make sure you find them bottom left-hand corner. You must find this out while you're there. I always like to take a picture of them because that's how I'm going to start doing my title research. I need to figure out the serial number of the home. I need to figure out the label number. I need to figure out those things. If I can't find any of that on the home, I'll always ask for the title from the homeowner, and that should have the information there. But just because the owner has a title, you still need to verify that that title is the actual title for the home.
Right.
So if you've lost the plate, you've lost the label, and you've got a title, the title's a good place to start your research and figure out what's going on. But I need to confirm that that title is correct for the house. And where did I tell you the VIN number would be? Stamped in 3/8 inch tall letters on the frame of the home, typically under the front door. Like if you crawl into the front door, it's normally in that range there somewhere, but it's normally close to the tongue or underneath the front door in that area, 3/8 inch tall letters stamped into the frame. So if I've got a title and I can look at the frame, I can verify that the two are the same, because the last thing you want to do is buy a mobile home and you don't have a title for it.
Right.
That's just not going to be a good deal for you. So that's some of the things you need to be paying attention to.
What happens if so this happens, right? People get a mobile home that somebody gave them. I know of a case right now where somebody I know has a mobile home. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. They got this home. They don't have a bill of sale. They don't have a title on it. And I mean, I don't know if it has the data plates and stuff like that on it.
That is not an all case scenario lost. That's going to be something I can discuss here for a second. I don't know if we have any questions coming in from Facebook, but if we do, I'll be glad to pause and answer those. But while I'm here with Jason, this is something that I get a lot of the times, and you're telling me, you're talking about splinters?
Right.
This is a splinter for that person, because they're now trying to settle it and they're starting to find out that, holy crap, I may not really own this house, or I've got problems. If you know how to solve that problem, though, you're going to set yourself up for a situation where you can buy homes for a lot cheaper, because there's title issues, a lot of title issues. I do not know how to discuss this across the 49 other states, but in Texas I know how to do this and do this well. Texas offers you what's called an affidavit of fact. It's Form B. It's called a Form B affidavit of fact. And what I can do is go in there and say, I do not have a title to this home because I bought this from Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2003 for $5,000. They gave me a bill of sale. They did not give me a title. I have since lost that bill of sale, but I have reached out to the homeowners. They are no longer around. I cannot find them, but I am the owner occupant of this home for the last 5 years. I've been paying taxes on it for the last 5 years, and I have done everything I can to find Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And they need to show some like certified mail to their house or something like that. But if you get that affidavit of fact filled out, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Mobile Home Division is actually a fairly easy government entity to work with. They want you to be in compliance, and they strive to assist you with creating that compliance. So if I file that Form B affidavit of fact, then I can then file an application for statement of ownership and location. Now, one thing that the state will not allow me to do is jump chain of title from Mr. and Mrs. Smith straight to me. So I'll have to title it from Mr. and Mrs. Smith to the new owner, and then create a new sale from the new owner to me, because the state charges like anywhere between $35 to $75 to title these. I don't have it memorized, and they want that fee. But I can file it all simultaneously. So it's not like I'm going to go up to the homeowner and be like, hey, let me fix all your title issues, give you the title, and then you turn around and sell it to me. I'll do it all simultaneously. So I'll figure out the affidavit of fact, Form B. I'll get the application for SOL signed from you to the previous owner, and then I'll get one signed from you to me. And I'll get it all signed simultaneously, send it off for titling, and then once about a week goes by, if you pay for the expedited process, done. Done all day long. So if you've got a broken chain of title like that and you can track it down and feel comfortable that what you're being told is the truth, do that deal all day long.
So he just said something really important. So when you're helping people pull these splinters out of their hand, you don't want to pull the splinter and be like, I mean, this is going to sound kind of screwed up, but then be like, hey, I took care of it for you. I hope you do the right thing. Yeah. It's very important that you do this end-to-end transaction, A, B, and C, all in one transaction.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, because you have I've got right at $10,000 invested into my education, right. And then I've got, right now probably close to 7 years of experience dealing with mobile homes. With 7 years of experience in dealing with mobile homes, they had a problem that they couldn't solve. That's like saying, hey, I'm having a heart attack, and then going to the doctor and then not wanting to pay them for the work they did. I've got the experience, I've gained the experience to know how to solve your problem. I deserve to be paid for solving that problem.
Well, and you just have to expect people to be people, though. And I mean this in the best way possible. If somebody's in a desperate situation and they've had 10 offers for $10,000, you're offering them $5,000, but you're going to do all the work, and you clear this whole title issue for them, and you didn't do this whole process, they're probably going to make a few calls back to the people that offered them $10,000 saying, hey, I got this done, because their reality is they're in a desperate situation. That $5,000 may be a huge deal to them.
And where some people might say that we're taking advantage of this person, that's like saying that the doctor's taking advantage of the person that's having the heart attack. They spent 10 years of their life to learn how to address that heart attack. I spent 7 years of my life learning how to address your title issue. You were offered $10,000 by a bunch of other people, but why didn't they buy your home? Because your title was jacked up and they didn't know how to fix it. I know how to fix it, and since I know how to fix it, I'm not willing to pay more than $5,000 for it. That $5,000 that I'll make turning around and selling it to the other person is my fee for fixing the title. Do I have some questions coming in?
Yeah, Matt Smith, this goes back to the very early on. He was talking about the foundations. Do they have foundations, and do you avoid the ones that don't include the land?
Okay, so this class right here is going to be addressing pretty much almost strictly mobile homes located in mobile home parks. There are definitely ways of knocking out deals on land, and you can make a ton of money on them, but it's almost identical to doing houses. So if you know how to do a house, it's almost the same. I'm teaching you how to handle mobile homes titled as personal property located in mobile home parks. If I take that a step further and look at your question about foundations, once again, I cannot speak for the entire United States, but here in Texas, Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs says that a mobile home cannot be set on a foundation greater than like 36 inches high without an engineered foundation done. But a foundation for a mobile home is mostly just like those cinder blocks. They're not cinder blocks, but that's exactly what they look like. They stack the cinder blocks up about yay high, and they put 20 of them in there, and then they set the mobile home on top of it. So it's not a typical foundation like what you'd see on a house with a poured concrete slab and stuff like that. It's just stacked up bricks, and the home sits on top of it. But when I say stacked up bricks, those bricks need to be a specific type, stacked in a specific way, and strapped according to the mobile home manufacturer standards.
Jessica Buchanan, did you say that type of plumbing is usually gray?
Quest is, I've never seen Quest that wasn't gray. When you find Quest in a house, it's not a losing scenario. It's just you need to be aware that it is a problem. Any other questions?
Also, that type of plumbing that you mentioned is not a deal breaker, like the leaky roof, right?
Yeah, that plumbing, like I could get a handyman to probably replumb an entire home in a day for around $500 to $700. You've got like one main water line that runs down the whole house, and it normally when they build the mobile homes, all the plumbing's typically on like one side of the house. You just get underneath there, cut the pieces that are going up to the toilet, cut the pieces that are going up to the bathrooms, and just pull a whole new line of PEX in. When you pull that line of PEX in, it replaces all of the Quest, and then all you have to do is do your stub ups going back up through there, and literally 2 guys a day, $500 to $700, you could completely redo all of the domestic water in that house.
Jean Marie was talking about how there's a place close to her where she lives that sells refurbished mobile homes, and she asked them where they get them, and they were saying they're getting from the banks, like bank repossessions. Is there a way to contact banks to get on that short list to buy them from the banks?
Absolutely, most definitely. You may have to be a licensed dealer to do so. They may not allow personal people to go in there and do that. But if you do get in there with the banks a lot of the times will just abandon their mobile homes because it costs more for them to yank it out than anything else. So if you just start calling all your local community banks, small banks, all of your banks, you're not going to be able to get on the phone with Chase. They're not going to do that with you. But if you get on your community credit bureau, whatever you want to call it, bank, probably going to have opportunities to pick up mobile homes from them.
Matt Smith, can you use OSB and vinyl on a mobile home?
In regards to can you, I say I do it all the time. Is there anything against it? Not that I know of. I mean, I used OSB, and I wouldn't use like the vinyl plank like you were talking about. I'd found some click laminate that was like 60 cents a pop.
There you go.
So 60 cents a foot, I was throwing click laminate in most all mine.
Well, I mean, so you use OSB over plywood, even like CDX plywood. You pick it over that?
OSB is just cheaper.
Right.
It's just cheaper, but it's more durable than the MDF crap.
It is, but it has the same problems when it gets wet.
Not as bad.
That's right.
It does, but not nearly as bad as the MDF. I'm looking for safe, clean, and affordable, and as long as there's not a hole in that floor, I'm good.
Gotcha.
Marcia Young, would you suggest getting the license so that you can order finance more than once a year?
Most definitely. And to give you a little bit of disclosure, in Texas you're not allowed to sell more than one a year. So before you go through and decide whether or not this is going to be the industry that you want to commit yourself to, go out and knock a deal out in your personal name.
There you go.
I say knock a deal out in your personal name. You need to deal with your own lawyers, your own asset protection stuff, but knock a deal out in your name. And if it goes well and you like the way it does, go out and do one in your wife's, your husband's name. And then if it still feel like it's going out good, go out and get your license. You know, do one in your name, do one in your friend's name, do 3 or 4. And if you like the way it's going, go out and get your license, because getting a license is going to take probably about a week of your time and probably about $3,000. But once you've got the license, you're good to go. And I strongly suggest you do it.
So you brought up, I mean, inadvertently brought up a really good point there. It's in our nature, right? Especially for us that are professional procrastinators like me. We want to spend time learning more, or you know what, I'm going to go take that class before I dive in. There's no point in paying a $2,000 class if you want to take that first step to go take down the first trailer.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who go out there and like, okay, I need my mobile home license to become, to start doing this. They'll go out and get their mobile home license and never do a deal.
Right.
You can do a deal without your license. So knock out a couple of deals. And then once you've figured out that this is a model that you appreciate and you want to do, less competition as far as I've seen, less competition in that realm, but go out there and start knocking it out and then go get your license.
Andrea, what is the best way to market a mobile home once it's ready, like to owner finance?
We'll actually be getting into that here on the end of this class.
Okay.
So,
Mark Boyd, does the affidavit of fact work on residential homes?
No, this is Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs.
And last question for now, Matt Smith, is this going to be added to the academy? Thanks for sharing.
This class is actually broken down in greater detail than what I'm going through here in the academy. I've already got the slides created. I need to come in and record it. So keep an eye out for the Propelio Academy's mobile home course, probably available in the next couple of months.
Which is completely free.
Free, yeah, completely free. And like I've already addressed this once today, which y'all may not realize because it sounds so simple with me sitting here just dropping this knowledge on you. I've got close to $10,000 into my mobile home education, and I'm extending that offer. I'm extending that knowledge to you at no cost. So do not think that just because you're not paying for sitting here to watch this live video that you're not getting value out of this. You are getting immense value, and I hope that y'all are recognizing that. So moving forward, how much is it going to cost me to repair one of these units? I have to stress this over and over and over again, and I have the biggest problem with residential investors, single family home investors, trying to treat manufactured homes the same way they treat stick-built homes. We are not doing the same thing. Like, I am looking for safe, clean, and affordable. That means I'm putting in the cheapest, because I'm looking for affordable. If I put granite in there and I put hardwoods in there and I put brand new fancy blinds and I put these exotic things in this home, it's no longer affordable because I have to recoup my money somehow, and that's going to be passed on to my end buyer. My end buyer on these units are looking for something that's safe, clean, and affordable. Affordable means whenever I go to replace the kitchen sink, I'm putting a $12 faucet in there.
Right.
I'm not putting a $30 faucet in there. I'm not even putting a $100 faucet in there. I am putting a $12 faucet on my kitchen sink. In the bathroom, if I need to replace a faucet, it's $7. It's a piece of plastic that's chrome dipped, and it's $7. If I need to replace the sink in my bathroom, I'm putting an $18 sink in there because, like I mentioned earlier, these are manufactured homes. They're built like a manufacturer would build a car. That sink, I can go underneath it, unbolt 4 bolts, pull that sink out, go back to a manufacturer, buy another identical sink for $12, $15, $20, stick it in there, and I'm done. I'm not going out there and buying some fancy faucet or anything else like that. Cheapest material I can buy that's safe, clean, and affordable.
So how do you, that's pretty interesting. I would have never thought you could go back to the manufacturer and get that, because you can't buy that sink at Home Depot.
No, so when I'm saying going back to the manufacturer, there's several resources, and we'll talk about those further on. And there's one out there like mobilehomepartsstore.com. They'll have like 9 different types of sinks. Well, those 9 different types of sinks will cover the majority of all the sinks that have been installed in mobile homes in the past 20 to 30 years. So you just go on there, find the one that looks like yours, $12. It's literally a stamped piece of plastic. It's not,
Right.
It's not metal, it's not ceramic, it's just a plastic bowl. I stick it in there and I'm good to go again. So easy, easy, easy. So let's look at repair costs on these things. I've already kind of touched base on this, but foundation $250 to $350 per section, maybe up to $500. But DFW $250 to $350 is definitely what I've been seeing. Skirting, I can reskirt a house for about $750 per section plus labor. When I'm looking at labor, I'm normally trying to find handymen that I can pay per hour. Like find somebody who's like, man, I'll pay you $25 an hour. Just go in there and work on that. That might be Crystal Methany's cousin. I don't know. But I'm just looking for somebody that's handy enough to go in there and replace some subflooring, put in some skirting, and do some light painting, replace a sink fixture here or there, and that's it. But skirting, $750 per section. Labor, I wouldn't want to spend more than $250 on labor to do something like that. I could do a skirting on a home by myself, probably in terms of about 4 to 6 hours, and that's just me by myself with a skill saw. Outside paneling, $25 per panel plus labor. And I mentioned on the masonite panels that if I got rotted masonite, I'm not going to replace the entire panel. I'm just going to replace the bottom foot.
Right.
So if I've got a 4x8 sheet of masonite, I can get 8 1-foot sections out of that,
right,
and I can cover almost the entire side of a house with one section, with one piece of masonite. So those are things to think about there. Baths, you can get a new tub for a bathroom for $225. You can get a new sink for $22. This is when I actually looked up the prices whenever I did this. Faucets, anywhere between $8 to $22 a piece. When you go to Home Depot or Lowe's to buy these faucets, you're not even going to see them up there on display. They're not even proud enough of them to put them up there on the display, but if you look on the bottom, you're going to find a little cardboard box about like this that's just cardboard, and it's just going to be stamped on the side of it like faucet,
right,
and that's like $9.
It's like a white box. It doesn't have anything fancy on it. It
Nope.
just says faucet.
It just says
Gotcha.
faucet. That's what you're putting into these homes. And one of the cool things about the tubs is like you will see a tub quite often where something is leaked in the bathroom and all the particle board underneath is rotted out. And those tubs are made to have support underneath them, and they're plastic. Well, when that support underneath them falls out, you're now standing on nothing, and that plastic starts sagging and they'll crack. So you'll go into one of these mobile homes and you'll look in the tub and there's a big crack, and you're sitting here thinking, man, that's going to be $1,000. Tub's $225, and I wouldn't pay more than $50, maybe $100 in labor to replace it, because it's unbolt. You just unbolt it, pick it up, stick a new one in, bolt it back in, you're done. No tile work unless your mobile home owner has gone in there and put their own tile in. But from the manufacturer, there's no tiles on the wall. It's very easy to remove, in and out, maybe total $350 to replace that tub. Subfloor, $25 per sheet plus labor. A sheet of plywood is 4x8. And labor, most of my handymen, I'd pay about $25 an hour, maybe $30 an hour, somewhere in that range. And they should be able to replace about a sheet an hour. So if I need 6 sheets replaced in a house times $30, $180 in labor, plus 3 or 4 or 5 sheets of plywood. Quick and easy, go and done. Kitchens, I buy used appliances. Cheapest stuff I can find. They don't need to match. I try and get the colors to match at least, but I'm just looking for cheap and used appliances. New stove, $75, $100 on Craigslist, Facebook, something like that. Dishwasher, $50 to $100. Refrigerator, like an apartment style refrigerator, $75 to $100. Put all new appliances in for $300. If I'm really trying to go all out, I might spend $1,000 and get some stainless steel new ones. But
do
you know how many times I've done that?
Once?
0. I've never done it.
I figured it took you one time to realize it wasn't worth the money.
Safe, clean, and affordable. Safe, clean,
Do you
and
put
affordable.
once a dishwasher goes out, do you put it back in, or do you just not replace it?
Depending on the price point of the home, I may not even replace it.
Right.
There's nothing that says that a home needs a dishwasher. Nothing at all.
And they tend to break a lot.
Yeah. But if I had a buyer coming in, they're like, man, I really like a dishwasher, go spend the $75 and throw one in. I'm like I said, I'm going to be into these things for probably less than $8,000 per unit. And at $8,000 per unit, I'm going to sell them on notes, typically ranging anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000 each. I made my money. I can throw a dishwasher in there. All right, sheetrock. So here's a cool little hack for y'all that have never remodeled mobile homes before. I'm going to throw some knowledge on you real quick. Sheetrock, $10 to $15 per panel plus labor. But let's talk about the manufacturing of a mobile home. Mobile homes are designed to be pulled behind a truck down the highway at 60 miles an hour. Try picking your house up, putting it on a trailer, and going 60 miles an hour down the road and not have every tape and bed joint in your house crack out. It's just your sheetrock's gonna just become destroyed. Mobile homes, rarely, if ever, I've almost never seen mobile homes that actually have a tape and bed joint. Tape and bed being the mud, plaster, whatever people want to call it, that connects the two pieces of rocks together. With mobile homes, you'll have two pieces of rock butted up against each other, flush, and they'll just put a piece of trim over it. Because if you take that thing down the highway, the bed joints are just going to crack out. So replacing sheetrock in a home is relatively simple. It's normally 3/8 inch rock, and you just pull the trim off, you bust that old piece of sheetrock out, and then you nail the new one up. And you put the trim back up, and it might take you a half hour to replace a panel. Most mobile homes, those panels have wallpaper on them. So if you replace it with just some regular old sheetrock, it's not going to match the rest of the house. And if you didn't want to paint the house, you're now stuck in a scenario where you've got a gray piece of rock next to two pieces of wallpaper. If that piece is messed up, I can pull that piece down. Go into another room somewhere in the house that has a nice full sheet that doesn't have a plug cut in it or a window cut in it. Pull that sheet out, put it in the living room, and now it'll match perfectly, and now I only have to paint one room.
Right.
You know, a smaller room or whatever. But if you don't want to do that and you're okay with just painting it, problem number 2.
Are they screwed in on those or nailed in?
They're not screwed in, they're pin nails.
Pin nails.
Like really thin pin nails.
So you just grab a pair of needle nose or something and pull them out?
So just yank the sheetrock down and pull them out with some needle nose. Well, here's issue number 2. Since the homes were not made for tape and bed joints, they don't have the beveled edges on the rock. Right. If you don't know what I'm talking about, your handyman will, but they're not going to have beveled edges on the rock. So whenever I try and go to Home Depot and I buy a piece of sheetrock and I stick it in, it's going to have that beveled edge, which won't allow my trim to sit on there like it's supposed to. So a lot of people will look at that and be like, man, I'm going to have to go to the manufacturer and spend $50 a sheet to get this stuff bought. And it's going to take 3 weeks to have it shipped if they can even find it. No. Just go to Home Depot, buy that same 3/8 inch rock, and then when you go to install it, it's supposed to be installed with the light gray side facing out. Flip it over, turn it around, stick it to the wall. The back side's not beveled. So you just take that sheetrock, turn it around, bolt it to the wall, throw up your trim, paint, you're done. All good to go. So for those that don't catch that, that is a really good way of reducing your costs when doing these remodels and you're working with your local handyman. Just that right there alone will save you a big headache and hassle when you're trying to get these homes fixed. Painting, not much different than anything else, but I would expect to pay not more than $800 per section to paint the entire outside of a mobile home. I'd probably look, that includes material, everything else. On the inside, anywhere between $800 to $1,500 to paint the inside of one of those. I'm not doing 3 paint colors. I forgot the name of the paint color I was using on my mobile homes, but I'd paint the ceiling, trim, and walls all the same color. But it was a lighter beige color, and because of the shadows in the house, the roof wouldn't, the ceilings wouldn't be lit as well as the walls. The color itself made the ceiling almost look like it was a different color than the walls because it didn't get as much light, and it still created a decent looking home on the inside. So I painted them all the exact same color.
So you just paint them all like eggshell, flat, semi-gloss?
All eggshell. Just all eggshell, the exact same color. Trim, ceilings are all the same color, and I just paint my doors white. But that's where I'm reducing my costs because I'm not doing 3 paint colors. I'm not doing a trim color. I'm not doing a ceiling color. I'm not doing a wall color. All one color.
So that paint, what would that include? I mean, is that 2 coats of primer, or is that just they come in and just shoot a new coat over the top?
Just shoot a new coat. Just come in and shoot a new coat. If I walk in and it looks bad, throw a little bit more on there. But what am I looking for?
Safe, cheap, and affordable.
Safe, clean, and affordable.
Clean and affordable.
Safe, clean, and affordable. If that's got a fresh coat of paint on there, I guarantee you it's better than what most people are finding in the market. So that's what I'm doing right there.
You gonna take a break?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a quick break. For those of y'all that are watching, we'll take a quick short minute break and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, I appreciate y'all for staying around. We're going to continue moving through this class. If y'all are enjoying the content that y'all are receiving so far, do us a favor, share it with your friends, tag some friends. Our goal here is to provide as much value as you possibly can. If you don't know about Propelio.com, make sure that you go out and check out our website. We do provide tools for real estate investors. We provide, comps, lead lists, websites. If you need a website for your business and you're not a tech savvy person, you can go to Propelio.com and in like 45 seconds have a website for your business. So you can get rid of that Gmail address, that Yahoo, that, those email addresses, create a little more credibility in your business, and go out and check out Propelio.com for your websites. All of that to be said, let's go ahead and hop back in. I'm missing it.
I was just saying, who is he?
We got Jason Witherspoon here. We're trying to go through the entire thing of mobile home investing. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, it's located in the links above. But we just finished up on how much to repair. Let's move on to the next section. That right there, I believe, was videos of some of the homes I've done. If y'all want to take a real quick look at some of the homes I've done, I'll show you some pictures here. Travion, do you think you can hook me up with some, so here's some pictures of a house that I'd done. That right there, I believe I paid $300 for that trailer. Now, from the outside, you can see that, it might not look beautiful, but this was after I finished it. It's got fresh paint on it. It's got new skirting on it. And I turned around and sold that one, I believe, for somewhere in the 20,000 range. I don't have all these things memorized.
That's a nice looking trailer too.
Yeah, but that right there, I paid like $300 for it, and I probably put about 7,000 into it. So once again, I met my model of less than $8,000. If I keep looking though, I got some fuzzy pictures. This was probably taken with an old mobile phone, but it's got fresh paint on the inside. It's got some new click laminate flooring. It's in the process of being remodeled in that picture, but you can kind of go through and see. It's got new carpet in that room. God, those are some fuzzy pictures. But if you look there in that bathroom, it's got a brand new tub down, and it's going to be hard to see in your pictures. Let me see if I can zoom in. I don't know if I can. I think I can. Nope, it won't let me zoom in really. Let me see here. Let me see. Oh, wow, that's too much. But if you look down here in the bottom left-hand corner, you've got these little pieces of trim that go around the tub. It's going to be hard to see, but those trim, you just pull that trim out, and that tub comes straight out of the bathroom. So it's not a hard fix to do. Let's go on to the next picture. So there's that bathroom again. That tub's $225. That surround is maybe $30. So between those two, that bathroom looks good again. That's that kitchen. I left the Formica countertops on there. I left the brass. I left all of that in there. I left that refrigerator in there. There's your fancy mobile home sauna tub, soaker tub. Keep on moving through, but that's what the home looks like. I'll find you one or two more real quick and just give you some ideas of what things look like. Here's another one that I bought. This one right here, I did not paint the inside. You can still kind of see the wallpaper on that wall. It's kind of hard to see, but it's got fresh carpet on it. That bathroom's got new linoleum floors in it. It's got the original tub. There's another bedroom with new carpet in it. There's the kitchen. The kitchen's got new linoleum floors on it. Overall, though, decent looking mobile home.
They make some really nice linoleum now too. Very, very nice finish.
Yeah, they make some stuff that looks really good. I mean, that right there is like a fake slate linoleum, but you can still see I've got the almond appliances in there. I didn't really update anything. I still got all the brass. I didn't even paint the inside of it. All I did is put carpet, flooring, fixed a lot of subfloor issues in that house. That house had a lot of subfloor issues where the subfloors were busting through. But, there's the laundry room.
Do you do anything with the countertops?
No, absolutely not. Like those Formica countertops are more than adequate. But if I look through that house is safe, clean, affordable. Where's the master bedroom? Damn, there's the master bedroom. It's got the big jetted soaker tub in there. I paid how much for that house? How much would you pay for that house?
So I know what you paid, so I'm not going to answer that because we talked about it beforehand.
I paid about $1,200 for that one. I paid about $1,200 for that one, and I put about $3,500 into it. That right there, awesome. I turned around and sold in the mid-20s on a note, and I created about $300 to $400 a month in cash flow off of it. So if I just keep floating through these, I'll show you some pictures of the outside. It had a fenced yard with a pomegranate tree in it. I painted the outside of that house for about $1,000. I put skirting on it for about $700, $800. The outside of that house looks clean. super clean. There you go. That's what about $5,000 can get you on a mobile home, and then I turn around and sell it on a $25,000 note. All right, I'll show you one more. I don't know if I've got, we'll finish off on that right there. We'll go back to the main presentation, but that's what I'm talking about, safe, clean, and affordable. I'm putting the cheapest material I can in there, but I want it to look clean, and I want it to be affordable, so I'm putting the cheapest stuff I possibly can into these homes. So we need to make sure we have clean title. We've gone through the process of looking through the home, looking at the main things that we need to fix. We've gone through knowing what the data plate is, what the label are. How are we going to do title research? This is going to take me a little bit more time here, though. I'm going to show you how to find out if you have clean title in Texas.
So one thing I just wanted to touch on, because you just keep reiterating it here, safe, clean, and affordable. It's so important that people understand that with this misconception about mobile homes, people talk about, it's trailer trash, this and that. People need affordable, clean, safe places to live. Mm-hmm. And you're giving them that opportunity for a very, very reasonable cost. You cannot find a $20,000 home anywhere else.
Absolutely not. And you're not going to find one that's safe, clean, and affordable. But I take that another step further. Where else can a family go out, purchase a safe, clean, and affordable house, and have it paid off in 5 years, and take their monthly payments from $800 a month down to $300 a month, right, because they've got lot rent? $300 a month for lot rent, most everyone can afford, even on a fixed income budget. Social Security, people that are heading towards retirement, they don't have a lot of money in savings. They need someplace that's safe, clean, and most importantly, affordable. And they're on $1,000 a month in budget. That's all their Social Security is giving them. Well, if they can get their expenses dropped down to $300 a month in lot rent, that greatly increases their value of life, their quality of life. So don't think that we're taking advantage of people by doing this. We're providing opportunity where demand is met.
All you have to do is go on the MLS and look for houses below a certain price point. They're not there. And there are people that are looking every day. I know of people that put out bandit signs. I probably don't do that. But if I did, I would get calls all day, every day from people asking me for places to live.
All the time. All the time.
Literally all weekend, I might have gotten calls from people looking for safe, clean places to live.
And if you've got that kind of demand in your market, find a way to fill that niche. And mobile homes is absolutely a way to do that and create great returns for yourself and or your investors. But I've gone through the process of figuring this stuff out. When I'm at the appointment with this homeowner, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, I need to make sure that the title of this home is transferable. Unlike a house, unlike single family real estate or real property, we do not handle properties with deeds. Real property has deeds, personal property has titles. You'll have a lot of times people refer to a deed to real property as a title, but it's truly the deed. Personal property has titles. Titles will almost always be handled at your Department of Public Safety, your Department of Motor Vehicles. For most of everybody in the United States, that's gonna be the case. Unlike Texas, Texas is handled through what's called the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Mobile Home Division. That is who handles titles in Texas. Part of that is you're going to need to verify who the owner is, what the location of the home is, and that's extremely important because if your title says that the home is located at 123 Main Street, but you're standing at 459 B Street, this home has been moved and Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs was never notified of it, which means that my home may not be properly installed. I may also run into an issue of trying to retitle this home under a new address, and the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs says, I do not show a record of that home being moved. I'm going to need to inspect that home and verify that it was installed properly. Things that you need to pay attention to that might be an oops that you find out whenever you're doing some due diligence.
So we just ran into this. It was a trailer on a piece of land as opposed to being in a park, but the last known whereabouts was Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. We are trying to sell it in Granbury, Texas, and it was something we had to deal with.
Yep. How did you handle that? Was there too much of an issue with it, or?
No, title company dealt with it all for us.
Okay, so title company.
It was being converted to real property, so it was a different situation.
That makes it a little simpler because you're not having to deal with TDHCA. In the instance with TDHCA, the TDHCA may require an inspection to be done. TDHCA inspects like 98+% of all homes that have been installed. So if they catch that the address of the home has changed and there's never been a permit pulled or an inspection done on that home, high probability you're going to get your mobile home inspected. Right. Okay. Previous liens, we need to make sure that the title doesn't have a lien recorded against it. You will find often that an owner will pay off their home and never get the lien released. Okay, because what happens is whenever I finance a mobile home, it's going to show a recorded lien on title, and when I'm done paying it off, the lender is going to send me also a Form B releasing the lien. A Form B releasing the lien, and that Form B releases the lien is now in my possession. What they failed to do, though, is record that release of lien with Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. It just sits in their pile of paperwork and eventually gets lost or never dealt with. So you'll have a home that's paid off but still has a lien against it. You need to know how to take care of that.
This is another one of the splinters you can help somebody pull because they won't be able to sell it because there's a lien on it. They don't know what to do about it. We're not talking, a lot of these people aren't highly sophisticated folks when it comes to understanding the laws about how to deal with this stuff. And that's where you as an investing professional come in.
And here's the crazy thing. Liens are actually kind of easy removing from title, like almost to the point of scared. Like it's scary how easy it is to remove the liens from title. At least in Texas. We have a document that I've already mentioned earlier that's used quite often throughout all issues with mobile homes in Texas, and that's going to be your affidavit of fact. Okay? Affidavit of fact. If I have a lien against the home, the first step I'm going to try and do is get in touch with the lien holder. I want to get in touch with the lien holder and say, hey, can you look up in your records, and you may have to have the homeowner work with you there and or find other creative ways of getting through the barricades of talking to the bank, because the bank's not going to want to talk to you because you don't own that mobile home. So you're going to need to find ways to talk to the bank. But get on the phone with that bank and say, hey, you've got a lien against asset with serial number blah, 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 mobile home XYZ. Can you look this up in your database and verify whether or not this lien has been paid off? One of two answers, one of three answers. Answer one, it's been paid off. Great, can you send me a Form B? If they send me a Form B, problem solved, very quick and easy. Option two is, no, it's not been paid off. And now you've got some figuring, then you might be able to negotiate a short. You might be able to negotiate whatever you want to negotiate. But if they got like a $5,000 lien against it, maybe be like, hey, you haven't been paid on that lien in like 8 years. Would you accept $8,000 to release it? Boom, $1,000, you got that lien released. If it still makes sense, buy the deal. Number three, which has happened to me a lot. We went through a lending crisis, 2008, 2009, where we had a bunch of banks go under. Mobile homes tend to be risky lending opportunities, which are handled by banks that are willing to accept more risk. A lot of those banks that were willing to accept more risk lost in 2008 and 9, and they're no longer around. So you'll find a mobile home that'll have a lien against it from some third-party, bank that you've never heard of, and you'll try and find data to get in touch with that bank, and that bank's gone. And now what do? How do I get this lien removed? Because Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs isn't going to transfer that title for me unless that lien's been cleared. Affidavit of fact. I will file an affidavit of fact that'll say something along the lines of, I own this mobile home XYZ, I finished paying it off on XYZ date, and there are no liens against this home. The lien is currently held by, I'll just use Green Tree Financial because they're very common for financing mobile homes. It's held by Green Tree Financial. And Green Tree Financial has gone out of business. Here are all their previous phone numbers. I've tried contacting all of them. I've tried to find out if that lien had been sold to another bank. I cannot find any information about that, but I did pay it off on this date. You send that affidavit of fact in, you'll get an SOL back, a statement of ownership location, which is what we call titles in Texas for mobile homes. I'll get an SOL back without a lien on it. It takes maybe a couple weeks. It's crazy. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but if you don't understand how to do it, well, then you can't do anything. And you, as a sophisticated investor that understands how mobile home titling works, you can solve those problems. So this works in Texas. I can't speak for it across the rest of the United States. That's how it works in Texas. You need to figure out your own laws in your own states. That's where my experience comes into play, is because I investigated all of the ins and outs of mobile home investing in Texas. So moving forward, other things that I want to make sure that I've got on there is verify that the owner on the title is the person I'm talking to. You don't want to buy something for Joe Smith whenever the home is owned by Mary somebody else. If that is the case, you need to verify, why is Mary in title and you, sir, are trying to sell it to me? Oh, well, I bought this from her 5 years ago. Okay, do you have a bill of sale? Yes, no. Well, do you still know Mary? No. That's where it starts getting a little bit, and we have to start doing some affidavits of fact and really making sure that we have the proper title. But overall, try and contact the lien holder that's recorded on your title.
So if somebody inherited a house, their parents died, they've just happened to be living there, and when I say a house, I mean a manufactured home. This house is theirs. They didn't probate it. They didn't do a lot of stuff, but someday it might just not be picked up because it wasn't real property in a probate. It could have been a lot of things. How would you go about doing that if the person that's on title as owning that is dead? Is
deceased, then it would. Good question. I've never personally dealt with that. And let me think about it here for a second. It's personal property. If they've never probated it, they may not have the rights to sell it. But personal property, I don't know how that works in Texas. That'd be a quick question for a lawyer, but I'd almost be willing to say it's not going to be that complicated. I don't want to give an answer because I'm not clear enough on that answer to give it to you, but I don't see it being an issue that I would be nervous about trying to overcome.
So I see this on properties, not necessarily a dead person, but
on real property I do it all the time, but on personal property I haven't dealt with it.
Right. Well, so you do an affidavit of heirship and stuff on a real property, but I had a trailer I was working with a couple of months ago. The parents were still alive. I just was thinking about it because of what you were saying. The dad owned it. Daughter's trying to sell it. And I'm like, who's this dude? Oh, that's my stepfather. Well, my parents aren't married anymore. And then you go down that rabbit hole trying to figure that out.
That's the rabbit hole you got to get figured out, because if she's the stepdaughter and he's still alive and he owns it, that's the person you need to be talking to. And now if she's like, well, he gave it to me, I'm like, well, that's great. Let's just hop on the phone with him real quick, verify that. And if that's been verified, cool. I'll need him to sign all the paperwork. But when it comes time to sell, you'll get the cash. And since he gave it to you, but he still needs to sign all the paperwork because he still owns it. You live in it. He owns it. We need to get that figured out. Okay, so it's just kind of working through all the little half-truths that you'll find a lot of times when you're talking to sellers. The half-truths being, oh yeah, I bought this from so-and-so and I've got it paid off, when you find out that no, they don't got it paid off, or they don't even own it. I've had one tenant one time try and sell me their landlord's mobile home. Like, they call me, oh, you buy mobile homes? Yeah, and I show up.
That's pretty awesome.
And I start going through all the research and find out, no, you're a tenant, that's the landlord, and you were trying to make a quick $1,000. Not happening. So you really got to be careful who you're dealing with. Other things that I'm going to want to look for, though, is we've already talked about liens, we've talked about location, we've talked about ownership, taxes. Mobile homes titled as personal property get taxed as personal property at your taxing authority. I'm going to need to contact the taxing authority and verify that there's no taxes due on this mobile home. At the very least in Texas, when you transfer a mobile home title, a statement of ownership and location, they also enforce what's called an 18-month tax statement. That 18-month tax statement is, I have to go to my local taxing authority and get them to give me a stamped, certified copy that all taxes have been paid on it up to the next 18 months. Taxes on mobile homes I've found as little as $50 a year and as much as $300 a year. Not really that much, but before I can transfer title, I need to get that 18-month tax statement at the very least in the state of Texas. I can't speak about anywhere else, but if I'm transferring personal property, 18-month tax statement is an absolute requirement to transfer property. So I want to go find out if taxes are current. If they haven't been paid in 4 or 5 years, I might have an extra $1,300, $1,400 worth of bills that I wasn't planning on paying.
Right.
I need to figure that out. Some of the cool things, though, about Texas and about taxes is that all of the tax liens are recorded online So I can go out online and start doing a little bit of due diligence and see if I have tax liens recorded against the house. The way TDHCA works, and I don't have this number memorized, but if a taxing authority has not placed a lien against the personal property in at least the last 3 years, then they can't go back and place a lien against you for something 6 years old or 7 years old. They've only got a 3-year window to place that lien, and if they don't do it within that 3-year window, they lose the opportunity to do so. So that's just a little bit of information to know, but you do need to get your taxes figured out. And last but not least is the lot rent current. I made that mistake once, and I've heard stories of somebody else making a similar mistake that didn't work out so well for them. But you buy something over the weekend, and you're in the process of trying to buy something over the weekend, and you talk to the park manager on a Monday morning, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're buying that unit. I'm looking forward to it. Are you planning on catching up the past 6 months worth of lot rent that haven't been paid?" Well, what are you talking about? I was told lot rent was current. No, I haven't had a payment on that lot in 6 months, and I'm in the process of trying to take ownership of that home because they're not paying me my money. Well, if lot rent's $300 a month times 6 months, there's $1,800 worth of expenses you weren't calculating into your thing. So you need to verify that your lot rent is current with the park manager. You buy something late on Saturday night, show up to the office on Monday morning, boom, you're in trouble. Find out something happened you weren't looking for.
So do you get a statement from them that says this is, there's no, or is it just like, yeah, it's not paid, there's nothing owed?
I don't know what happened to our TV back there, but our TV went dead. All of our TVs went dead.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. We're coming back to life again. All right, so let me show you real quick what that first thing is up there, and that's the TDHCA link. I'm going to show you really quickly how easy it is to research titles in Texas on mobile home, personal property mobile home, not real property, big difference. All right, so if we switch over here to my screen, I have searched in Google for Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Right up here, you can see it, TDHCA, and the very first thing that pops up is this link, but I've got these little sublinks down here. One of them says Manufactured Housing Division. That's what I'm going to click on. So when I click on the Manufactured Housing Division, let me see if I can make this screen a little bigger. There we go, that's a little bit bigger. This is where all of the information on mobile homes is stored. And it is a wealth of information. I'm not going to be able to go through this entire website with all of y'all today. I need you to go out and do some of your own due diligence. But we've got all this stuff over here like governing board and board meeting materials, recording ownership and titling, license holders, laws and rules, tax lien information, related websites, search our databases. Wealth of information here that I am not going to be able to spend the entire day going through. But this is some great information for you to have. What are we talking about right now though? Verifying ownership and title. So looking at this TDHCA, down this left-hand side of navigation, I have one little thing right here that says recording ownership and titling. That is where I'm going to go. So if I click on that, recording ownership and titling, and I scroll down, there's a lot of information here. I suggest everybody watching this class that's in Texas right now, go to this website and spend a full day reading, researching, and taking notes. That's how I learned this. I don't need to do this for you. I've already given you more than enough information to figure this out on your own. Go to this website though and start just consuming as much information as you can. But if I start scrolling down.
Does everybody know who's one of Daniel's favorite mentors is? Because he doesn't say it much anymore. He used to say it all the time. Somebody said it back there.
Google.
There you go.
Google is my mentor. I have spent many a nights reading law, reading articles, reading stuff like this, just going here to Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. What's up?
Nothing.
It is what it is, man. But I've got this really big section right here. I have no clue what's going on. Okay, so if I go back over here though, research manufactured homeownership records. It's really big section right here in the middle. If I click on that, and I, for whatever reason, don't feel like I am on the screen, there we are. If I click on this little screen right here, research manufactured homeownership records, I click on that. This is how you research mobile home title in Texas. Okay, you can search by many different things. You can search by the address, city, the county of installation, zip code, certificate number, last name of the owner, first name, company name of the owner, serial number, label/serial number. I can research a lot of stuff on here. Like if I'm missing the title, I might be able to just search that address, and if it hasn't been moved since it was titled, I might be able to find it right here. Some things to think about. Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs was established in 2003. Homes bought before 2003 still have a title. They still have a title. So I'll find homes in Texas that still have titles, not statements of ownership and location. But whenever I go to transfer this home, I'm going to do it all here with TDHCA, and that title will be relinquished, and I will now receive a statement of ownership and location. So a little bit of things to think about there. But if I know it was bought after 2003, I've got a decent chance of being able to find it here. That's 15 years of ownership that I can research here. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to look at one of the homes I've bought in the past. Let me see if I can find one here real quick. Lot 118 has the statement of ownership and location. So for those that are curious what a SOL looks like, I'll zoom in on this. Okay, this is exactly what a title on a mobile home will look like, or statement of ownership and location in Texas. This is Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Other states, you will have titles similar to your DMV, DPS, whatever you call that. But right here, this is going to tell me I've got the manufacturer, the location of the manufacturer, the label / serial number. That's 3 letters, always followed by 7 digits. Okay, that will say RAD, TEX, LOU. I don't know the exact reason for the first 3 letters, but my understanding is it is where it was manufactured. Like you'll see a lot of them, TEX, 7 numbers. TEX, 7 numbers. I don't know why, but I believe that's where it was manufactured. This one particularly says RAD, which doesn't fall into line with my theory which is this one was manufactured in Waco, Texas, but the label has RAD on it. All right. Now this says RAD 1109621. That is 7 digits. It has to have 7 digits. This is where people will get confused, and this is going to be a hiccup that I'm going to help you solve right now because it caused me massive amounts of problems when I first got started. You will find some of these labels / serial numbers that are only 6 numbers long. And if I try and research that number in the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs database, it won't find anything because it has to be a 7-digit number. So to turn a 6-digit number into a 7-digit number, I'm going to add a 0 in front of that 6-digit. So it'll be 01110 so and so. So if you have one that is a 6-digit number, remember you need to put a 0 in front of it to be able to research it. It took a long time for me to figure that out.
That's a ninja trick right there.
That really is. For y'all that don't catch that, that was a lot of headache for me to figure out, and I'm giving that to you right there.
Yeah, I bet you've got to call through 8 layers of phone tree and bureaucracy before you can get that answer from somebody.
It was not easy for me to figure out. So going on further from there, it's got the serial number. That serial number is that number that I was going to tell you that'd be at least 3/8 of an inch tall, stamped onto the frame of that mobile home. I've got the weight of it, the size of it is a 17 by 76. I got the model, date of manufacture, effective date of transfer, what wind zone it is allowed to be installed in. We talked about wind zones in that previous class. This was built in 1998. I know that wind zone 2 was in effect in 1994. So if I was in a wind zone 2 area, I know that this mobile home couldn't be parked there. For those of y'all that aren't catching that, we discussed that in part 1 of this class. But I now know that this is a wind zone 1 home built in 1998. I know that I'm in a wind zone 1 area, so I'm okay with putting that mobile home there. It'll show who the current owner of record is, who the seller of that mobile home was, and what the address of that mobile home is. The address was correct. I'm good. And then right down here at the bottom, it's going to show me if I have any liens. No liens have been recorded on this title, so once again, I'm in a good position, good to go there. All right, that is what an SOL looks like, but I need this label / seal number. RAD 1109621. Come back over here. RAD 110961, and I feel like I screwed that up, so I'm going to go back over here one more time. 1109621. Now, if I input that properly, I should be able to hit submit here and find all the information I want to know on that home. Do you see that there? That is the home I found. It shows the owner as MC3. I've already sold that home. And if I click over here on the label seal here to the left, You look like you got excited.
No. You're asking me if I see it. It's really small over there, just so everybody knows. I'm
Okay.
trying to follow along. It's a tiny little
Oh,
streak.
my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't realize y'all couldn't see. So for all y'all out there following along with us, I hope you'll be able to see that
Hopefully
here.
I'm the only one that can't see that.
It's pretty big.
So here's something that's cool though with Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. You see this button up here at the top? Like, I'll see if I can highlight it. Print Statement of Ownership Certificate. Let me click on that real quick. And now remember how I just looked at that title that I had on my phone, or not on my phone, on my computer? Online, I can pull up that title. I keep calling it a title. It's technically called a Statement of Ownership and Location in Texas. But do you see now that the owner of record has changed? Still the exact same property, but the title to this home is located online, and it was issued on 8/30 of 2016. I don't know how many mobile homes you've looked at in the past, Jason, but did you know that this resource is available to you?
No. Not
This
at all.
resource is an amazing resource for anybody looking to purchase and deal in mobile homes. Did this person have a lien against it? No, they bought it for cash. No lien against it at all. Holy crap. It got moved to Atlanta, Texas. So I'm just looking at it right here. It used to be in Wilmer, Texas. It's now located in Atlanta, Texas. So that home's been moved.
Somebody got a good deal.
Yep, so that's pretty cool. So that is one neat thing that you can do at TDHCA, but if I keep scrolling down, it'll show me all the information that's located on the SOL. It'll show you who the previous owners are, and if you can see there, it's been sold a bunch of times. Nope. I was the last owner because I bought it from Northwind. That was my wife. And then we sold it to RGN, and then RGN sold it to MC3. So this thing's transferred title a bunch of times since I've sold it. If I keep scrolling down, remember how I told you I wanted...
Was this a note you sold?
This was a mobile home I sold, and the note was fulfilled. It was a 3-year note.
Oh, wow.
So I sold this one on a note. The note was fulfilled. But if I come back over here, tax lien and mortgage liens. I can see it right here on the screen. I'll see if I can zoom in on it a little bit for you, if that looks better for y'all out there in the wonderful world of Facebook and YouTube. It shows no active liens on that property for the mortgage. That's a really good benefit for me right now. Another thing I can click on is this right here, tax lien history. If I click on check tax lien history, I can scroll down, home information, and then for your convenience, we're providing you with a history of all tax liens recorded and released. This home has no tax liens. So all of that information I could find from my cell phone standing at the back of that damn mobile home at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Great database for you if you're a Texas investor. For those of you that are not in Texas, I apologize. Get here as fast as you possibly can. But if you absolutely refuse to, you're going to have to figure out how to do it in your own state. But that right there is how you figure out titling and research in Texas.
So I don't know a lot about this process. I'm learning a lot thanks to Daniel's, go-giver attitude here. And he's given us all his knowledge he's worked really hard for. But I promise you, these deals are in every state in the union.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee. I'm sure there's a trailer somewhere in Hawaii. I don't know if there is, but I guarantee you they're in Alaska. There
are trailers
You can
everywhere.
find these deals.
I've had so many people tell me, oh, there's no mobile home parks in my area. I'm like, yes, there are tons of mobile home parks in your area. You're just not looking for them. They're probably hidden behind an industrial complex. They're probably hidden on the other side of an apartment complex, but there are mobile home parks everywhere. You just got to learn to find them. All right, so that right there helps you out with recording ownership and titling, and we're going to move back onto the slides as soon as I find my little clicky thing. So,
Questions real quick?
yeah, let's hit up a couple questions because I did just knock out a bunch of information.
This goes back earlier when you were showing pictures of the mobile home had the carpet in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you leave that? Do you change it up?
I left it. I left it 110% left it. That carpet right there is probably around 45 cents a foot, and I have a handyman install it. Cheap, clean, affordable. Do not go into this with stick-built thoughts. Don't go in there trying to go HGTV on this crap. It's not going to work for you, and if you can't get that out of your mind, you're not going to get the returns that I'm looking to get on these things. I want 100% cash on cash.
Jessica's asking about the manufactured home is moved from park to land. Does it convert to real property then? And then second part, if you have a manufactured home on a piece of land, can you have the real property, which is the land, and personal property, which is the manufactured home? Do you keep it separate unless you decide to join them and make it real property?
You pretty much answered your question with your second question. So the first question is, if it's located in a park, it's almost guaranteed personal property, but it needs to be verified. If it's on land, it could either be personal property or real property, depending on how it is titled. If it has a title, then it is personal property. If it has a deed, then it is real property. And we discussed that in much greater detail in part 1 of that class, but you pretty much answered your own question. I can move a mobile home to land and it still be real property or personal property, or I can move it to a land and join it to the land through the deed, and then it becomes real property.
Yeah, and in tax records in Texas, I can't speak for the other states, are so good that I'm confused by what he was doing over there. They're so good that most of the time you can see if it was it'll tell you if it's real elected, real or personal, but it almost always has the pounds, or it'll say the number sign, and then I'm old, I don't say hashtag. Number sign, it'll have TEX with the numbers after it.
Yep, that'll be the serial number of the unit. So that's another way, at least here in Texas, of finding out whether it's titled real or personal property. Do I have other questions?
One more question from Wade. Do you recommend getting a signed letter from the park manager stating that the back lot rent due, so they can't come back and say a different amount is owed?
110% yes, and I started to talk about that when we got into it, and I forgot about it because I've heard of more than one time of a property being purchased and then going to the office and being like, oh, well, actually, it was a lot more than that, but I was scared you wouldn't buy it if I didn't tell you. You've got to get something in writing telling you what your past due payments are, because it is a bad scenario to get yourself into.
Is that Wade from Weatherford?
Wade Warren?
Yeah.
It's Wade.
I didn't mean
different
to
ways. All right, so Vanderbilt. All right, so we've gone through a lot of questions, or a lot on this particular slide. I'm going to move on. I don't think I've got any other questions coming in on this, so we're going to go ahead and move forward. Now, this is where I'm going to start trying to figure out determining my offers. This is where you're going to really quickly see that I'm a pretty strong right brain person. I'm not a very clinical left brain person. So getting into the numbers aspect of this, I'm not going to say wags as in wild ass guesses. I had my own thought processes, but I can't boil them down into formulas. So what I'm going to give you is my thought process and then let you kind of figure it out from there. But whenever I'm going to determine my offer, I normally am looking to create 3 different offers. I'm not going to always present them all at the same time, but I'm going to have 3 different approaches in my head on how I'm going to purchase this property. Number 1 is going to be straight up cash. And I don't really want to be into it for more than 25% of what I think I can sell it for on a note. If I think I can sell it for 20 grand on a note, I don't really want to be into it for more than 5 grand. If I think I can sell it for 30 grand, whatever 25% of that is, that's where I'm looking to be. So I don't like buying homes where I'm all in for more than 8 to 9 grand. So most of my homes that I sell aren't going to be able to sell for more than $30,000 or so.
But it's hard to lose if you're buying at 25%. If you're buying 25 cents on the dollar, it's hard not to make money.
But since it's a mobile home, people are expecting to take a haircut. And with it being a mobile home, 25% of retail is about where I'm looking to be at. If it's a $20,000 unit that I think I'm going to be able to sell for 20 grand, I don't want to be into it for more than 5. That's kind of my number. So that's a good way to look at it. Now, if I get this seller to give me a partial finance, and this is where I'm going to start saying like my right brain is going to start coming out. I do a lot of things off of gut, less than calculations. Obviously, I still use calculators in my business, but I am not a formula kind of guy. But if I go to do partial finance, I'll give them a slightly higher offer than my cash offer. Let's say my all-in cash offer is 5 grand, and I know I've got about $2,000 worth of work, whatever it ends up being. I may have screwed that up on you. I might be willing to offer these people $7,000 or $8,000 if they own or finance it to me. And I just need to be sure that whenever I offer that partial finance, that I can give them a down payment that's less than or equal to the down payment I think I could secure from my end buyer. Because that down payment is what's going to protect me. If I give a $3,000 down payment on this house, and I know I can sell it to somebody else with a $3,000 down payment, then my cash in the deal is 0. I have limited risk in that. And if I can get them to sell it to me for $8,000 on $3,000 down, and I can turn around and do no work to it and sell it to somebody else for 15 grand with $3,000 down with a higher interest rate, I collected a yield spread. I collected, I fractional lending. I pretty much created my own cash out of thin air by generating a note. And I put myself in a really good position because I can now create cash flow long-term off of this one property that I have no capital tied up into.
Yeah, and the power of seller financing, if you can get them to seller finance to you, one, you cut a whole lot of steps out of the process and a whole lot of time, because you're not having to go to your bank. You're not having to pick up the phone and call everybody you know to borrow $3,000, sell a kidney, whatever you got to do. But it's such a powerful tool that it can't be overlooked.
Seller financing is the pinnacle of real estate investing, in my opinion. Being able to go in there and get people to seller finance it to you without tying up your credit, without tying up your debt to income, and create massive amounts of long-term wealth with having little to no money in a deal. It's a perfect opportunity. But that right there is kind of how I'd structure my partial finance. Let's say my cash offer was $5,000, thinking I could sell it for 15 to 20 without putting any work into it. If my partial finance offer would probably be somewhere around $7,000 to $8,000 with a $3,000 down payment. Maybe that $3,000 down payment would satisfy. Oops, sorry everybody out there. I've got some. There we go. My necklace was tied up in my microphone. If I go for $8,000, I know I don't have any work that needs to be done to it. I can put $3,000 down. That $3,000 satisfies the immediate needs of my seller, gets them what they need, and then I can turn around and sell it to somebody else for $15,000 with doing no work and collect a $3,000 down payment. I have no capital tied up in that deal at all, and now I'm collecting a couple $100 a month in cash flow. Last offer that I'd structure is 100% finance. It's going to be my highest offer. Maybe I'll offer them $10,000. And if I offer them $10,000, I need to make sure that my payment to them is going to be less than my end buyer's payment. Maybe I'll try and get them to give me a $10,000 0% finance. I don't want to put any interest on it, and do like an 18-month finance on it. So they're paid off pretty quick, but I just need to make sure that whenever I structure this deal that my payment is less than my end buyer's payment, if that makes sense. Okay? All I need to know is that my payment is less than my end buyer's payment, unless I'm willing to take a small loss for 8 months to a year and then move forward with a full-blown cash income after that.
Well, I was trying to get my calculator out here because I don't think people understand, like $10,000 over how many payments do you say?
Let's say 18 months.
18 months. That's a very small payment.
That's like $600 to $700, I'd say, somewhere in that range. And then if I could turn around and owner finance this to somebody else at, let's say, $18,000 with $5,000 down or $3,000 down or something like that, but I get them at 10% interest. For the first 18 months, I might not make much money. I might make, maybe $100 a month, $50 a month. But after I've paid off that underlying debt, my payment's now $700 a month in cash flow that I'm getting without having a dime into the deal.
Right. So you literally just have an ATM kicking you out $700 a month that you no longer have to put any money into.
Mm-hmm. That's why I love mobile homes. That's why I absolutely love mobile homes. I call mobile homes little ATMs, little mobile ATMs, because that's exactly what they do, is spit off cash. Now, I'm not even going to discuss this because I'm not going to spend enough time on this, but I got that up there that it says credit cards a possibility. I'm not even going to jump into that right now because it's just more of a rabbit hole than I want to go down. But those are 3 ways to structure offers: with cash, partial finance, or 100% finance. And I will approach that person always with that cash offer up front if I'm in the position. Some people might prefer to do some of these other ones, but I look for that cash offer because I'll make the most money off of it. And I'm okay with dropping a quick $5,000 to make 15. So for those of you though, if I can't get them to accept a discounted cash offer, then I'll start offering a partial finance offer. And if they're not okay with the partial finance offer, I'll go to the 100% finance offer.
So this is a lesson I had to learn the hard way. I have somebody that mentors me that's hard as woodpecker lips. He's a tough customer. But I would go out and throw out all 3 offers at the same time and just confuse the shit out of everybody involved. You can't do that. You have to start in one place and move to the next as you start doing these.
That is, I approach, and this gives we're going into negotiations a little bit here, but if you haven't read the book Influence, The Power of Persuasion, it is a damn good book to understand the psychology behind negotiation. And this is something else that Grant talks about a lot. For those that don't watch Grant Teach Me Something on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock on Facebook, Propelio, he is a wealth of knowledge, but he talks about the hairy arm principle. Like if I'm talking to this seller and I'm already, just through talking to them, pretty sure they're never going to take that cash offer. That cash offer might be the very first thing I throw out there, because I'm going to throw something out there that I know they're going to reject. And it's called the hairy arm principle. I'm going to stick something out there that I know they don't want, so I can take a concession and say, okay, well, if you don't really like that, how about we do this? And the psychology behind that says that we're now negotiating and that they've had some say in what's going on. So I'll throw out something I know I don't want, but if they take it, I'm great and happy with, knowing that they're going to reject it, so I can move into part two, and they will feel like they have taken a concession, and it will help the negotiation out some. Another way to look at that, and this goes back into that book, is like, if I go in and I try and sell you something cheap first, let's say I'm at a clothing store, and this is kind of the exact same example as to what I'm talking about here. If you come into a clothing store and I'm going to try and sell you a suit, I'm not going to try and sell you the cheapest suit I have because I think that's what you can buy. The first thing I'm going to try and do is sell you the most expensive suit I can and give you that sticker shock, and like, holy crap, there's no way in hell I'm going to buy a $10,000 suit. You were planning to come in to buy a $1,000 suit, but I hit you with a $10,000 suit up front, so I've already got you with that sticker shock. And then I'm going to offer you a $5,000 suit, and that's going to sound a lot cheaper than that $10,000 suit. And while you might not buy that $5,000 suit, you might buy the $4,000 suit, which is a lot more than you're planning on spending, because I hit you up front with that massive sticker shock and then got you over here somewhere which was far away from where you wanted. But if I came in and was like, tried to hit you with that $1,000 first and then tried to hit you with that $4,000 suit second, there's no way you would have ever bought that $4,000 suit. So I'll try and set up my offers with this mobile home seller in a similar way. The very first offer I throw out might be an offer that I know that they're going to reject. I know they're going to reject it because it's so far off. But whenever I hit them with my second offer, which sounds a lot better but was nowhere close to what they wanted, there's a better chance of me catching them to the middle. You following on that?
Yep.
So always throw one out, get through that, just beat it on the head, and then be like, well, if you're not going for that, what if we structured something like this? And this is more than likely what I'm trying to get them to do.
So you hear the saying, if your first offer doesn't make you a little sick at your stomach, you're not offering low enough. Mm-hmm. It's probably not the nicest way to put it, but it's kind of true in most of these situations. Because if you feel good about you know what, I bet they're going to be happy about this offer. You're not offering them low enough.
Mm-mm. So on that particular scenario, I talked about, hitting them with that cash offer up front because I know they're going to reject it, and then I move into the partial finance offers. Well, what if there's a scenario where I really want to pay cash for it? I really want to pay cash for it. That's not going to be my first offer. What I might do, because I can tell that they're needing cash. They're like, hey, I've just moved. I need to come up with this money so I can move. I need this. I need that. I need money. Well, what I might do is I hit them with the very first offer, which is 100% finance, which gives them no money, and I know they're not going to like it. And I'll hit them with, let's say, would you be willing to finance this to me if I can give you $300 a month for the next year and I'll pay you $6,000 for this unit? Their immediate reactions will be like, hell no, I need cash. And I'm like, how much do you need? I might be able to come up with some. And they're like, well, I need $3,000. Well, if my initial cash offer was $5,000, I just got that thing for $3,000.
Yeah, you just got a $2,000 discount.
Yeah, so I hit them with something I know they're not going to want, and then I get them to come back and get them to give me what they want. So a little bit of thought processes there on how I would approach these offers with my seller. Do I have any questions coming in?
Yeah, on this topic, Mark Boyd. So if the ARV is $20,000 and 25% of that is $5,000 offer, not including repair, is that correct?
I'm really wanting to be all in at 25%. So if I know it needs $3,000 in repairs, my cash offer would be like $2,000. And while I see a lot of people out there that might be hesitant to think that you can get these units at that price range, I've bought at least a dozen at that $1,000 mark that were all 1983 or newer homes.
Taylor Tully on YouTube. If you use private money to purchase, what terms do you pay your lender?
On my lender, I've only used one lender on my mobile home side, and I was just offering him a flat 12%. He's got 12% that I'm borrowing at. I could find that all day long, even up to 15% with people that got like $10,000, $15,000 in an IRA. I will do that all day long. But if I pay them 12 to 15% on their money, and I'm turning around and I'm making 140% on that money, I'm making some damn good money. So I do that all day long. But since these are so cheap, most of the time I was just purchasing them with my own capital.
And there's a ton of people out there that have $10,000 or $15,000 that they don't want to get a 0.5% on that CD.
Yep, plenty of them.
Eric Belt, what's the best way to get around the only allowed to sell one a year rule? In the past, I bought one and was given one, but now I have a deal where 25 is involved. Not sure how to handle it.
The trick is get licensed. That's the only trick. That's what you need to do. And if you're going to be doing this business, I'm going to stand here on my side and say you're doing yourself and this industry a disservice by not getting licensed. Now, if you are new in this business and you're trying to get your feet wet, which it doesn't sound like you're doing, it sounds like you've done a few of these already. I personally did one in my name, one in my wife's name, one in my father-in-law's name, and did it that way until I was comfortable with this business and knowing that I wanted to be in this business. Then I went and got licensed. But the license costs you about $2,000. It'll teach you how to do this business right in regards to transferring titling and making sure that you're doing people correctly. And it is nothing but a benefit to you and your company, and you need to get licensed.
So the law is about selling homes. You have you have to be licensed to sell.
Yep.
Do not burn that deal down while you're waiting to go to school.
Yeah,
buy the 25 homes and take the next weekend class after that.
Yeah, so
and then
Texas,
sell 'em.
I think Texas offers that class once a quarter. So once a quarter you can go take that class and get a license inside of a 3-day class. Any other questions?
One more. Jessica Buchanan, after you buy the mobile home, do you have to hold it for a certain length of time before you can sell it?
Nope. I can buy it and sell it seconds later.
And then lastly, from my point of view, unless you want to make it a 3-parter, when you start churning.
All right. How much do I have left here?
10 slides.
This may end up having to be a 3-part section. Let's get a vote from people online right now, what they're saying. Yeah, because this might end up being a 3-part section because we're about to get into math. I'm about to start showing you how to calculate math on this. And this is going to be possibly a 3-part series. But what y'all may or may not get from everybody that's out there watching Facebook Live right now or YouTube is I am flat out teaching you how to do this business. I'm not holding anything back. So if you watch part 1, part 2, and what may end up being part 3, you're going to leave this class with the knowledge that you need to knock this down. You might have to watch this 2 or 3 times to figure it out. But if you're dedicated and you want to be a part of this business, boom, I'm giving you the knowledge you need to do it.
There are videos that these guys have done that I've had to watch 5 times to get. And I'd text Daniel afterwards like, holy smokes, I finally got it after 5 times watching. That's no joke here. But this is a class, any place else, you're going to get upsold at some RIA. Here in DFW, they're going to be like, it's $100 to walk in the door, but if you want the meat, it's going to be a $5,000 class next weekend.
And that's just...
Take advantage of this. This is all free right now.
And what I can only add to that is people associate the cost with the value. And right now, although this is free, it's free to you. I spent the money, I spent the time, I spent the blood, sweat, and tears acquiring this knowledge. It was not free. It was just free to you. And where you might not get it and where you might not understand it is, I just saw too many people get screwed over by people that were taking advantage of other people's dreams. And I'm tired of seeing that happen. And for that reason, I am going to teach everything I possibly know so that way those that don't have opportunity today. And all you need to do is pay attention to what's going on, run some of your own due diligence, figure out some things, and you can become successful in this business. I know we're wrapping up. We're getting close to the end, I guess, of part 2.
Another question. Taylor he was asking, is that full amortization?
Full amortization on?
Probably just when you're talking about numbers.
Is that full amortization? If you're saying I'll turn around and sell it for like 20 or 25 grand, that is the note value. That is not the amortized value. The amortized value on that would probably be like 33 to 34,000, 37,000. Not that high. If I did it at 25, it'd probably end up being amortized out to somewhere around the 30K range. So it's a great way of creating fractional lending systems within your own business and just manufacturing notes out of thin air. Like I turned $5,000 into a $20,000 note. I just created $15,000 of net worth on my Hewlett-Packard printer without going to prison.
And then another comment was 3 is a magical number.
3 is a magical number. I like that. So I don't know how many people we still have watching right now. I've probably bored everybody out there to absolute death. But this is part 2. Unfortunately, it looks like this is going to have to end up being a part 3. I wasn't joking when I told everybody I was going to knock out a full 8 hours of mobile home class. You're getting it here. If you don't like the time frame it's coming at you in, my apologies. It just is what it is. You got any last thoughts or any things we should do?
No, if you get into hardcore math, though, I may have to get a sub. I don't know if I can keep up with all that.
I'll get a 10B2 calculator out
Nice.
here. We'll figure out some stuff. I'll show you how to run a 10B2. There's no way, in my opinion, you're going to be able to do this business without understanding a financial calculator. So we'll talk a little bit about financial calculators here today. For those that have joined in and were able to stick around for long enough, please give us some likes, some shares, some comments. Let Facebook know that you're appreciating what we're doing over here. Let your friends know that you're appreciating what we're doing over here. If you don't know what Propelio is, make sure you go out and check out Propelio.com. That's the whole reason we're providing this type of content for you. Give a little bit of brand awareness to our business. The business that we run is a website that provides real estate investors with software tools such as comps, turnkey websites for your real estate investing business, lead lists, lead management, as well as discounted properties found on the MLS. So if you're trying to find leads, if you're trying to generate online leads and you need a website, if you need anything like that, make sure you check out Propelio.com and give us an opportunity to earn your business. There is a 7-day free trial on there. It costs you absolutely nothing to go try it out. You don't even need a credit card for the trial. Go out there, play around, give us some feedback, and I hope that you enjoy what we've done for you. I don't really know if I've got much else to think about here today. Any final thoughts? Anything you could do for you, Mr. Jason Witherspoon?
I don't think I could. I don't think I have anything but to add about the value given here. I got 2 partners off last week's deal. Hit me on the DMs right afterwards.
Oh, sweet.
I appreciate
That's awesome.
these opportunities, and I hope everybody else gets to take advantage of this too.
Cool. Well, anybody?
What's that business you look for? How can they get a hold of you?
Facebook. That's
Jason
what
Witherspoon
we
on
all-
Facebook. What kind of? What are you looking for? You looking to partner up on some deals?
Yeah, I was
for some
looking for some money partners for some deals for this upcoming year. I mean, we're
capital
not really-
partners. What kind of terms would you consider offering? I don't even know if we're allowed to talk about that here on
Yeah, probably.
on camera, so I'm not going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
but hit me up. I'm looking for people to do deals with, whether we're splitting deals or just looking for hard money.
Cool. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come over here and get some knowledge, and I appreciate the questions you've given us. I hope that you'll be able to make it to part 3. If not, we'll get a sub in for that. But looks like this is going to end up being a 3-part series, guys. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a great day.